do your thing. Yeah.
We're almost live. We're doing it. Yeah. Oh, we've been live. That's funny. Hey,
Oh, we've
y'all.
been live. I love reality. Hello, everybody out there who's been joining this with us.
Well, it was only 8 seconds. So this is Dr. Hazel-Grace Yates, and I am joined here with Lee Harrington and Miss Cenna, and they are going to be teaching at the virtual intimacy retreat. And you're going to be teaching turning it around, switching places in the bedroom.
Yes.
And Lee is a sexuality author and educator, and Miss Cenna is a relationship skills educator. How is it to be here in this moment, in this conversation right now?
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm really delighted to get to see your face again and to talk about what we have coming up. And in general, I also have like a bit of body nervousness doing it because we've talked about how like we've never had a chance to be on camera having an interview together. So this is, you're taking our cherry.
Yes, you're welcome. Awesome. Okay, so tell me a little bit about, the thing that I was really curious about, Miss Cenna, I heard you say that this audience that you're going to be teaching to is not your normal audience.
You remembered that, did you?
I did. I'm wondering if you're willing to share a little bit about that. What do you mean by that?
So my primary circle is the SM community, BDSM community, and leather community.
Uh-huh.
So I teach mostly to consensual power dynamics, power exchange dynamics people, be they in a, just regular kinky or in DS dynamics or MS dynamics. So I know that that is not where your retreat is coming from. So there's a little bit of nervousness about changing the language to be appropriate for your audience, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, it definitely is a smorgasbord of people coming in at all different levels, because there could be some advanced kinksters and there could be some people that have always wanted to know about it. And this might be their first kind of like entry into that world. So
Yeah.
I get what you're talking about, because it's all different levels and layers.
Yeah.
So, well, how did y'all get into this work, and why does this work matter to you so much?
Well,
that was synchronized.
well, who shall start? Oh, wait, I'm the dominant. I'm starting. That's what that was. I've been living the polyamorous and leather lifestyle for 16 years. And during that time, I have had many relationships of various kinds, all of which ended in some way or another, and all of which came with lessons. Some lessons easily learned, some lessons much harder learned. And I have a passion for teaching others. I'm very good at it. I enjoy connecting with people on a personal level and having that one-on-one and being that person that they can come to and talk to, because I've been there and I've done that and I have something to share, right? And they can take something away from it. So teaching for me is very much a passion and almost a need. I have the urge. I want to connect. And this year has brought a lot of online challenging. I'm used to working with live people and having them in the room and read the energy and be there with them and kind of feel what they're feeling. So online teaching is a very, very different avenue to go.
Yeah, and I want to say that I know there's a lot of teachers, including myself, where it was like, I don't want to teach online. How can I teach my stuff online? I don't want to. And then it got to the point where it was like, well, there's people at home who don't want to not be touching other people. There's people at home not want to be dancing and connecting and playing, and they don't want to either. And so I know, at least for me, it's taken a lot of courage to show up and be like, okay, I'm willing to learn this thing. And the thing that I'm surprised by over and over is like how much intimacy and how much learning and how much connection can actually happen through this strange portal thingy. So I appreciate I feel your urge and your desire to teach, and I appreciate your willingness to expand and stretch into the virtual realm here.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what about for you, Lee?
I'm like, what am I being offered for? Oh, wait, the question. That got very exciting all of a sudden. No, it's, I've been teaching as a sexuality educator since the early 2000s. And for me, it's a big political vision in all honesty, but I have a personal belief that the more skills we build as individuals, whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's in our social interactions with other people, I think the more we learn to be authentic and to listen to ourselves and wake up to our own possibilities, I think we start changing the world around us first, and then step by step, the world at large. And that, again, that sounds pretty big vision. And yet at the same time, I consider it to be my experience. That when I have met people who have learned to explore and grow and stretch their comfort zones, the more likely they are willing to be quiet for a moment and listen to the growing and learning and changing of others too. Now, on a more intimate note, I've been part of, as Man brought up, the kink and sexuality communities since the mid 90s. And I've done so much growing in those communities that I love getting to bring it into not just those spaces, but teaching at universities, doing lecturing online, leading 3-day retreats, all of that stuff to build intimacy, to build self-connection, and in turn, again, build that web with each other. So along the way, I've gotten to write books, I've gotten to do stuff here. And when you were talking about like practicing that, getting to connect with other people online, I've felt so blessed that every Wednesday since the quarantine lockdown started back in March, I've been doing free every afternoon, Wednesday, daytime, donation-based discussions on everything from growing our teaching skills to this coming Wednesday is destigmatizing STIs, whether they're sexually transmitted illnesses or socially transmitted illnesses, to improving our relationship skills. And it's been so beautiful seeing folks from literally all over the world have access to this information because of COVID, right? Like I'm having people from rural Indiana and Cornwall in the same room together. That would never have happened if this had not happened in the world.
Yeah, totally. Hearing you talk about why this work matters to you, I remember our first conversation and it was like, yeah. Because whenever you're like, this is a big vision, I'm like, yeah, it's a fucking big vision. And I totally align with you. And, I even love the part where you talked about activism, and this retreat actually is a platform for activism, which is really exciting. And something else you said whether it's sexually transmitted or socially transmitted. Is that like, you mean like COVID?
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
Because we've been using this language of everybody needs to stay at home, which ends up socially stigmatizing people who work in medical fields or work in janitorial and can't afford to pay their rent if they don't go to work. And yet I'm seeing people say things, well, you're putting your kids at risk by working your minimum wage job.
Wow.
And I think there's got to be a language that, and I personally think there's crossovers that people in consensually non-monogamous relationships, people have had these conversations around destigmatizing STIs in non-monogamy, and I think we can bring that into consciousness as well for the rest of the world.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Wow, thank you so much. Well, maybe you can put the link in this thing for the next Wednesday talk. Cool. Well, let's talk about your workshop, which is turning it around, switching places in the bedroom. What can people expect in this workshop?
Do you want to talk about the roots?
I guess it's me, huh?
Well, where the class came from and how we're modifying it, because
where did the class come from? So I had the idea of putting this class together because as a female dominant in my world, in Texas, which is very conservative and definitely a red Bible Belt state, I had to work very hard to establish myself as a dominant and not just this girl that hasn't quite found the right guy to put her on her knees, sort of thing, right?
Mm.
Because in Texas, that's the man is the head of the household, XYZ. So over the years, I have certain items, actions, things that I enjoy receiving. But finding somebody to give those things to me or provide those things for me without me losing my reputation as an established dominant that you don't go around and fuck with, and that just because I'm bottoming doesn't mean I am your bottom, nor am I any less dominant. There are
Oh,
things I enjoy, and I want to find ways to receive those things. So over the last 16 years, it's only been in the last 3 years maybe that I have mixed my power exchange dynamics with romantic love. I had
mm.
very deliberately never mixed that before because it in my brain it bred confusion. Because if I then asked a submissive of mine to do something for me that they would interpret as topping or being dominant, it confuses them. There's a
Mhm.
confusion piece there, right? And
Mm.
also for me, bottoming is a vulnerable thing. And I am not willing to just offer that vulnerability to anybody. I
Mm.
have to know that the person that is topping me will respect me afterwards, still for who I am, and doesn't look at me any differently.
Mm.
And that there aren't any repercussions in my standing within my community because I'm considered one of the leaders and educators in the community. And I don't
Mm.
want to deal with that talk, right? I don't want to be somebody's notch on the bedpost. That is just not the
Mhm.
thing.
Mm.
So I had to, no, I didn't have to. I chose to go up to Dallas to find dominance that would top me for certain things,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
wouldn't change the way they look at me or the way they interact with me, and it wouldn't be an issue in my local Austin community.
Right.
And at some point, I went, well, that is just ridiculous. If I, especially since Lee has come along, I have a service person, a partner that has a lot of skills that I would love to receive.
Mm.
So, how about we put together a class on how to make your partner, be it your dominant or your submissive, it doesn't really matter which side of the slash you're on, more comfortable with providing those services to me while staying in the headset that I'm still the dominant. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't change, right? And
Uh-huh.
I am able to offer my vulnerability and say, you know what, I trust you.
Mm.
And I want you to lead and I want to enjoy that. But
Mm.
there was some work through for me because there has always been this distinction that my submissive shall not dominate me. Period. End of story. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a process of me having to do some work process to get to where we're at.
And so
Right.
when we were looking at the idea of doing something for the second virtual intimacy retreat, one of the things that I had realized, and her talking about her process brought up for me, is for folks who don't know, I was assigned female at birth. And before my gender transition, I spent time doing work as a dominatrix. And I would have these men who in their day-to-day life were very much the leaders as compared to the followers. If we use like dance language,
Right.
right? Um, and were very much the leaders in their bedrooms, in their life at large, etc. And would do what you were talking about going to Dallas. They would come to me to receive certain activities, whether it was certain things like pegging, which for folks who don't know is about using a strap-on for anal stimulation,
Mm-hmm.
and would do activities like that, or would do things where they would be able to get on their knees because the economics of it, the dollar amount made a safe line for them.
Right.
This is a contracted safe space for me to explore this piece because they were concerned that if they asked their wife, could you put on this strap on? I would like to receive this sensation. There was a fear in like their skin got like I saw them literally, their shoulders would do this if they thought about the idea of asking their spouse, because they were afraid of what their spouse might say. It would affect, instead of the affecting how it would feel in their community, they were concerned how it would affect their relationship. So everything she was saying, like I was nodding along. Right?
Well,
because
and it's also if you are somebody that in your everyday life is predominantly in control of what's going on, period. You're wearing the proverbial pants in the house, right? I find that especially if I have prolonged emotional distress for some reason or another, I have to have a space where I can shut off being in control and just let go. And I don't think that has anything to do with the power exchange dynamics. I think everybody that is predominantly a leader or a decision maker wants to have a space where they just don't. I just want 2 hours of not.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the kink world, that's fairly simple. You find somebody to top you.
Right.
It's sort of simple.
Well, with
most of the time.
Yeah. With top, and for folks who aren't familiar with the language, top is I am a giver of an activity. And bottom is I am a receiver of an activity. And so to say somebody is topping a spanking, it's mean they're the hand, right? Or if it's topping, if it's say the person being penetrated, the top is the person doing the penetrating, and the bottom is the person being penetrated. And so there might be people watching who aren't into SM, and I want to put like that language because it can sometimes seem really intimidating.
Well, in the beginning of our workshop, there's a whole segment just talking about the language and the terms and the background and where this is coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
So there will be an intro section going, these are the words that we're using, this is what it's going to mean, this is what it looks like.
Because it all translates. Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I'm so appreciating and enjoying. This is the first time I'm actually in kind of a dialogue around the work that you teach. And I'm so appreciating how accessible I say you're making this, and simple, and explaining the terms instead of using jargon that would confuse people. So I'm just really, really enjoying, and I'm like, sweet, I'm glad they're teaching at this retreat because I just appreciate your level of professionalism and education skills.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're putting this on.
Yeah, I had a chance to attend the first one and loved so much the variety of offering that was on the table. And that I got to attend 3 different sessions. I had other things happening that weekend, but made a choice to really prioritize, even if I had an opportunity to do lots of things, that I knew that I also was taking care of myself. I made a choice to prioritize a few of those time slots, but didn't get frustrated at me for not taking the entire weekend, right? It's great to immerse, and yet online provides you a chance to register for an entire weekend and still do a couple. And so I went to 3 and they were so different. like a really like brain download, like here's tons of information on online dating, like just boom of data. To someone else doing beautiful guided visualization breath work where everybody got away from their computers, set up really cozy nests, and got to do their own integral breathing. And to me, that degree of diversity was so beautiful. Like I use the term ma'am for Ms. Cenna because we have we've chosen authority exchange dynamic within our relationship where she has specific authority over parts of my life. And I choose to serve her out of respect and love and devotion. And so when I'm using that word, that's where that's coming from. And look, because for some people, ma'am is about being Southern, right? Which is cool. Right? But for ma'am and I, we're going to be doing some stuff that is body activating and awareness. And some of it's going to be about physical skill sets, like what's it like to pull on your own hair, and other parts that are going to be intellectual and asking people questions. Nice. So to me, I'm excited about bringing this one because I feel almost like it's the shuffling of everything I saw in the first one.
Oh, yeah, nice. Cool. And do y'all have anything for us to discuss or share anything specific an
Do you want to do some
exercise.
body position stuff or do something?
You wanted to do the visualization thing.
Yeah, let's totally go there. All right. So anybody who is safe to do this exercise, if you are driving, do not. Right? You can come back to my page or Ms. Cenna's. Mine is Lee Harrington. Hers is Ms. Cenna, one word, Austin as a second word. You can find us online or through the links on Dr. Hazel-Grace's Yates's website. So feel free to find us there, and you can watch this again.
Yes.
Do not do this if you're driving or somewhere that does not feel safe.
Right.
So I'm going to have it ready.
Get
Go ahead.
comfy.
Yep.
Get
Shake your.
comfy.
You don't
Get
even have
comfy.
to sit at your computer if you don't want to. If you want to step away from it, but I'm going to go ahead. Start with taking some deep breaths and shaking those shoulders out. We need to get them out of our ears because so many of us, right? Like I'm literally physically stretching my shoulders down. And before we get going, I'm going to lay out what we're going to do. I'm going to have us take a series of deep breaths together, followed by a visualization exercise involving some points of anxiety in our life. We're then going to do some breathing again and come back to talk about some of those things that came up. So start together with a series of breaths. I'm going to have us all breathe out, emptying out our bodies, and then breathe in, filling up our lungs and our body, and release. Breathe in, filling up our potential and filling up our ability to think with our hearts, not just our minds, and release. And then breathing in, filling up from our toes all the way up to our nose, and release with a sigh. Oh, there we are. There you are. And have you go back into your body and into your memory to a desire that you have that you've been nervous about sharing, maybe. A desire that you thought was either a little taboo or your partner might not have understood. That desire might be for wanting to receive a massage or going out to a certain type of activity. Maybe it's about something in the bedroom and a desire that you've had flash by in that moment that you went, oh, maybe not. Feeling into your body as you're thinking about that moment, that thought, that process, that thing that came up to you. Where is it in you? Is it that your shoulders are scrunching up? Is it that your belly is tight right underneath your ribs? Is it that your cunt or your cock or your genitals are clenched down, not wanting to let the secret out? Is it that balling up sensation like you're holding into the safety of you? Where is it in your skin suit? Is it in your hands clenched up? Is it in your jaw tightened down? Is it in a secret little smile that you're not sure if you're ready to share with the world? Where is it in your body? Where is it in your body? And once you have an awareness of where it is in your body, I'm going to have you go ahead and put your hands on that spot in your body, whether it's your forearms, your shoulders, your thighs, maybe even clenched up around your toes. Go ahead and just set your hands on that part of your body and feel into it. Feel into that part of your skin suit and let your hands start to feel what that tension feels like. And pass that thought into the palms of your hands. Pass that thought or that idea or that thought right there, that feeling. And let your hands hold on to it for a moment. Let your hands, let that transmit into the palms of your hands. Go ahead and breathe into it. Breathing in and release. Breathing in and letting that sensation pass into your palms and release from its original location. Breathing in into the palms of your hands and release from its original location, and then breathe your hands. Bring your hands slowly together as you continue breathing. Bringing those hands together and feeling that thought or that idea right there between your hands. That little secret, that little thought, that little idea that no one else has to know about yet. That little thought. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and look at your hands. All right.
Want to peek into mine?
Would you be open to sharing what you see or feel right there in the palm of your hand? And no is totally awesome. I am willing to share mine if that does not feel safe and good to you.
I want to share it.
Okay. What's there in your, and you can even feel the weight of it right now, or the fluttering, whatever that sensation is right now in the palm of your hands.
Yeah. Okay. I have a desire to dress in drag publicly and go on a date with my beloved.
Okay, look at your hands are still together.
That's beautiful.
That is so well, and
so
it sounds like it's also really challenging.
Yes.
Right? It's also something that you've been holding on. Like I saw you were holding that in your shoulder blades, like all of that, like right. And it's in your hands right now. And I'm going to go ahead and have some vulnerability. And I'll share one that came up for me in that moment, which is that I would love to get to have a moment where in this time of COVID, I would love to be in a kissing circle. And I have such body fear around that right now. And it's not even about a specific person. It's about the time we're living in as a global pandemic, that I would love to be in a kissing circle, and my body carries fear. And that's what's here in my hands right now.
Yeah. Thank you.
You don't have to if you want to, man, because this is all consent, but if you want to share. And you can also just stay yours. You can model that too.
I have an intense desire to say fuck it and go out there and be with my people. I am an extrovert. My motivation, my drive, my energy comes from my people and interacting with my people and having them feed me. I have had a very hard time keeping my educator momentum without being fed by anybody. And just putting out and giving, but not getting anything back. I'm not getting fed like I need to in order to keep my drive going. And that desire, I have to fight against it.
So some of these are very analytical thoughts, and I think some of hers and mine are based on earlier conversations that we've had, right? Because some of these things that are fresh on our skin are fresh on our skin because of what our skin's been going through recently. And others that I've held in my hand in the past are things like wanting to be part of gangbangs, or wanting to dress in lingerie, or wanting to do 1,000 different things. And so I'm going to offer us 2 different choices based on which everyone feels safe to you in this moment. The 2 different choices are either on our 3rd breath that we take, either to just open up our hands and let it open and fly free, or to let it open as we put it into our hearts and to know that it's now conscious to us to decide whether we let that fly out of our throat and talk to somebody about it, or that we now have it conscious in our hearts. So those are our two different choices once we get to our third breath. You ready? Okay, we're going to release out, let go of that breath and all that stress of just sharing that thing. And breathe in, filling up, filling up, filling up, and release. Breathing in, filling up from our toes all the way up to our nose, and release. And then filling up from the earth all the way up through our body, up to the stars, and releasing our hands wherever feels safe and best to us.
Oh, God.
And here,
God.
go ahead and shake those hands out or hearts out, right? So a little bit of consciousness. Because I think to be able to do this work of turning to a partner, which is what a lot of our piece is actually going to be on, starting with those little pieces of knowing where they are in our bodies and knowing where they are so that we can even open up our hands and share them with a beloved, it can be a first step. But a lot of our thing is going to be about, okay, you've decided to do it. Now what?
Now what?
Now what? Oh, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah.
One of the things that in the past, at least with live audiences, what we have experienced is that we have such different styles of teaching and interacting. I'm a very realistic, pragmatic, this is what it is and this is how it's going to work person. And he's got all the woo in the world, like all the things. That's all him. So we have such opposite viewpoints that no matter what your way of learning or your way of internalizing or your way of looking at things is, you can get something out of the class because you're getting completely different input based on how you think.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if there's a couple that one of you is an analyzer and one of you is a body heart aligner, you can come together to this and both have language to communicate as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. So glad that y'all exist and that you're showing up, and thank you for doing all the internal work that you've done and that you will continue to be able to show up as a leader and educator.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
You're so welcome. All right. Bye, loves.
Take care.
Bye.